Well, thank you very much. Now we know. I'm Chris. I work for a small startup in Redmond, Washington, called Microsoft. And I'm a big fan of AI. And I'm a big fan, even a bigger fan and an older fan of privacy and security. And I'm also a fan of computers because they do things for me that I'm bored with. And this is what I want us to think about when we think about AI. I'm also a speaking coach. I help people, well, engineers mostly, to give presentations, how to actually talk in meetings. And this title is a great example that you should never drink and propose talks. Because I've wanted to write this amazing talk that completely inspires me. I managed to do something good, but I finished it like 5 minutes ago, so I hope it's good enough for you as well, because I put myself I always try to be better and better and better, and sometimes that's not good for us. But it will be good for you, I hope. Why did I do this? I don't know. Anyways, all the things I'm talking about will be at this URL, so you actually don't need to note down the little URLs on the bottom in case you actually want to follow up with these things. I keep a collection of all kind of cool AI things and human interaction at this URL. And I think it's important that we find good stories, and when we talk about it, we can point to good examples. So let's talk a bit about artificial intelligence, and I put this in quotes because artificial intelligence has always been sold to us as this like thing that's already there. And real artificial intelligence, real thinking machines, we're still far away from that. But we actually see it as a marketing material. My voice is already getting out. And get very excited about it. Everything is intelligent. Well, I hope everything is intelligent because that's what we should be doing. So artificial intelligence is actually nothing new. The concepts go back to the 50s. We wanted to always have a thinking machine. We wanted to see the efficiency of computers and the sensibilities of humans to actually make sure that the computer doesn't need supervision all the time, doesn't need us to write code all the time, but actually gets a task and noodles away at that task and then gives us information back. It's quite the hype and often misattributed. Often when you talk, yeah, we're using AI, actually what they're doing is a very clever SQL statement, which there's nothing bad about that, but by putting AI on top of it, it's much more intelligent, much like everything was a cloud. Even if it was some desktop computer in the corner of somebody's office, it had a NAS on it, so that was a cloud. Artificial intelligence, to me, is an umbrella term for a lot of math and science around repetition, pattern recognition, and machine learning, and especially machine learning in deep learning that we have nowadays. And the main reason why it's such a big thing right now is that hardware has actually taken up with our needs. When a machine learning algorithm took like weeks when it started in the 70s and 80s, it's now milliseconds, and sometimes when you run it on device, it's instantaneous. So we don't have to wait for that anymore. The other thing why artificial intelligence is such a big topic is that we have a lot of data. It's much more feasible because we collected a lot of information from people, from uploads, from sensors. We have information, we have more information that we can deal with as humans, so we needed to find a new technology solution to make these things palpable or understandable for humans. I love that everywhere you go, you have these like AI things and machine learning. Everything is very much sold. And I was at a conference in Trondheim, and I loved that they had all these books about computers and the future. And the middle one was like robot sex, was the one in the middle. And it makes me wonder what we're doing with these kind of things and how we're trying to sell it. But that was just me being childish. So my problem with machine learning as we have it right now, I'm getting kind of these reminders of genie in the bottle. That people are kind of worried about AI all the time, and only a few people seem to grasp it, and other people use it but don't know what it is. The other day I was calling my bank in Germany, just because I moved back from England to Germany, and I had a waiting thing. They had to reboot their computer. And I talked to her like, yeah, what do you do? Yeah, I work in Microsoft and in machine learning and artificial intelligence. And she was going like 5 minutes telling me all the problems she has with machine learning instead of doing the task that I called her for. But I found it interesting. It showed how much fear is in people that their jobs are going away and that the thinking machine is going to destroy us all. So in the genie story, that genie fulfills wishes seemingly with invisible magic. And it's useful and feels good, too good to be true. That's why you only get 3 wishes. But with our machine learning, we've got self-replicating genies. We've got machines that create machines. We've got algorithms that spawn up new algorithms. We've got things that go through different iterations to find the information that you hadn't found before. And once released, the genie, it seems to have a dark, sinister edge to it. And we wonder about the same thing about the machine learning and AI revolution that we have right now. And that's a good thing. I want us to be adamant. I want us to be worried. I want us to question things. That's what we should do as humans, not just follow the rules all the time. That's what computers should do. And it's kind of hard to put it back into the bottle. So when it comes to these keynotes at these AI conferences, it's always important to do a few predictions. And the great thing about it is that nobody ever follows them up. So I can say what I want right now, and nobody's going to put me to court because of it. But these are things that I see right now, and I'm acting on as an IT professional. I've been 20 years in the IT business. I've been working for Microsoft, for Mozilla, for Yahoo, for different big banks. I built massive websites. And I've written in like 12 different programming languages. But I found that there's only a few growth markets right now we should be concentrating in the near future. And that is, the first one is AI. And I love it because data science does not need the same skill set as programming. You don't need to be a great programmer to actually have a data set and create a good data set and ask an AI the right questions. So that way we can diversify our market much more than it is right now, rather than trying to shoehorn everybody into coding. If you have been at the WeAreDevelopers event earlier this year, I gave a keynote about the end of coding. That coding is, to me, already being replaced by AI, which is kind of like futuristic, but I see it coming, and it's going to be interesting to see. Machine learning is replacing thousands of jobs, boring, terrible jobs that humans should not do. So whenever politics, especially in like America, go all on about like this attack on intelligence, that like we bring back honest jobs like truck drivers and bricklayers back, I'm like, these are the jobs that make us sick. These are the jobs that are not meant for humans to do because they're boring, repetitive, straining, and actually dangerous. Because the more boring a job is, the more mistakes we make. The more mistakes we make, the more likely we actually hurt ourselves and other people. And this is also happening in IT. We're not invincible to automation just because we know how to exit Vim. That's like knowledge that we're super excited about, but we might be replaced with something that actually writes code for other machines. There's no stopping this, and the reason is just too convenient. We're so already reliant on these big data initiatives. We're so reliant on this data being accumulated and machines finding the ways for us that we just don't want to give up that convenience anymore. And why should we? I loved in the 90s watching Star Trek, and they said like, okay, computer, can you tell me what star system this is? And I'm like, freaking cool. This will never happen. And nowadays we have it, and we don't even appreciate it the way it is. The amount of data we create, actively or by triggering sensors, is too much for us. We as humans cannot plow through that information anymore. Computers can do that for us. And if we, as developers and decision makers in IT, are not very adamant about getting AI right and ethical and good, then it will be used by terrible people for terrible things. And we should democratize it. We should not get people be afraid of AI. We should make them embrace it and understand that this is the current state of affairs when it comes to computing. It's great that your machine, your microphone that in your house answers the things to you, but you should also know what you give to it, where it goes, and what it does. And I'm looking forward to actually doing really, really interesting jobs, creative jobs that computers can't do because machine learning and AI does the boring jobs for us. So the machines are watching. This is what we should be always aware of. There is no privacy anymore. There's no way to hide from the grid. We are basically constantly being monitored and analyzed, and somebody made a persona of us and tries to sell that persona things. If you really have a problem with sleeping too well, take a look at the social credit system that's right now being rolled out across China that they want to finish in 2020. It's like an episode from Black Mirror. It's basically the idea that you have thousands and thousands of cameras in every city that basically monitor people all the time and recognize people by facial recognition and also by the way they move. And any interaction that you do in real life or on computers, and let's face it, both of them are the same thing now that we carry our computers with us and buy things paying with these things, and add up to a credit score that you have. And the credit score defines your movement, if you're allowed to move inside the country or outside the country, if you're allowed to get an insurance, if your kids are allowed to go to a certain school. So all your behavior is monitored 24/7, and people are happy with it because the people who don't have anything to hide think it's okay. I've got nothing to hide is the most stupid thing I ever heard. First of all, we all have something to hide. We don't want everything to be public. And I worked in open source. I know, I like to make things public. But what you really, really want to worry about is what that persona that the machine made of you is and how it differs from you. If you don't want something to hide, you should be okay that you're on Facebook and somebody's birthday party with somebody in the background doing cocaine. That will not look good on your application if a company that wants to hire you sees these things. So the context in which you're being shown and what the machine knows of you is as important as your actions, even more important than your actions. That's why it's so hard and so annoying when social systems don't give us access to that data. We don't know what Facebook thinks of me. We don't know what other systems think of us. And we should be demanding these things. I should be in control of my personal data when I use these systems. But Big Brother, to a degree, is redundant. When he predicted that there was a camera in every corner, he didn't predict that we buy these cameras that spy on us. You remember these 60s, 70s spy movies where people were super concerned that there might be a microphone in their house sending everything they say to somewhere else? We buy these things now and we put them in our house because they tell us what the weather is like outside. And we're totally fine to be recorded 24/7. So everything we do online is monitored and recorded, and we often release that our data is how we pay for free services. I'm sick of free services. Let me pay. Let me make sure that you have a business model that will work in 10 years. Let me actually not give everything for free just by giving you my freedom, my information, my persona. We're happy to use systems that record all the time in exchange for convenience. Of course it's cool that I get my phone out and say like, oh, where's a restaurant around here? And when I get out of the restaurant, I should be okay that the system asks me, how was that restaurant? Because I found it because somebody else said, yes, it's a great restaurant, and not some advertiser said it's a great restaurant. So this giving back and forth is something that we should be just convenient with. Often people don't realize just how dangerous it is and it can be in the wrong hands. Everything of that counts in large amounts. Machine learning is not possible if you have a small data set, because it just means that it's like random things rather than like proper insights. We create massive amount of information, actively or without our knowledge. It's tough to make that consumable again, and that's why we have computers. And that's why I love that we have these systems to build human interfaces, not computer interfaces, not great blockchain things that get us funding, things that humans use that is powered by artificial intelligence. With cloud computing and on-demand processing and advances in hardware, we're faster than ever. But we leave invisible marks every time we use one of those systems. When we use other people's infrastructure, we leave traces. And this allows companies to recognize us and our usage history, which is okay because it leads to better results. Like my search in Google is better than the search in Bing because I only used Bing for 3 years and Google for 15 years. Because Google knows more about me than the company that I work for because I haven't used those systems. We should have more transparency about what digital legacy we leave behind, and we should also be allowed to delete ourselves from those systems, to purge our data when we don't want to use them anymore, and to download all of our data when these companies go bankrupt. So are machines friend or foe is always the big question. Are they out for us? Do they like humans? Is the Terminator thing coming? Artificial intelligence, I think, has a lot of myths. It can't replace a thinking, creative human. So the more creative you be, the more unpredictable you are, the more likely you will have to have a great job. Not like unpredictable towards your boss and like shouting at them or something like that, but things that only humans can do. AI cannot magically fill gaps with great information. It can just copy from somewhere else and hope that it works. And it gives you always a percentage of what the information should be like and if it's right. AI doesn't learn in a creative fashion. It makes no assumptions. And it has no morals and ethics. But it can, if used wrongly, amplify our biases. So if we have a facial recognition system that's only been trained with white people, that's not the world. And any Asian person, any person of color looking into that thing and not being able to access our system, that's on us. That's our mistake. We should be thinking about getting our bias of like only white people will use that thing because I'm a white person out of the way when we build these systems because it's dangerous. So machines can be great tools or weapons. Machine learning is all about returning assumptions. You never get a truth. You get a percentage. We don't get a definite truth. We get answers to our questions. And if our questions are good questions, do that one thing, the AI will be really quick at giving us a result. If we start asking the AI to be philosophical, to be creative, to be artistic, then most of the time things come out that make great headlines that AI isn't there yet, but actually it's also the wrong way of using it, because we don't want to replace artists, we don't want to replace creative people. InspiroBot is a great example for an unguided, unsupervised AI. It's a system, a machine learning system that's been fed motivational posters, you know, that like hang in there, cat, and these kind of things, or it's only Monday kind of things, or it's Friday but it's still illegal to kill your boss kind of posters, you know. So, and it then got asked to create new posters from that data set. And as that data set is pretty much like just inspiring people and the pictures are weird most of the time, it came up with wonderful solutions if you play with that thing. It can be demanding before inspiration comes to slaughter. It can mix up needs, believe that you're carrying an idea and remember to undress. It can be overly excited, living forever is easy if you take up a loan. It can be a good warning, remember that you are pissed. And it can be painfully humbling, basing your everyday on science creates loneliness, which is just too close to comfort. Also maybe prophetic, keep panicking, that's also a good poster to hang up in your office. Try to tell yourself that you are horrible. It's another good one. I like that one a lot. And then, of course, when we tell machines what humans are like, this is what happens. This is an AI learning to walk. And it actually learned much faster to walk than a human does. But it's not quite how we walk, though, is it? But to a degree, you know, he looks so happy. I love that, you know? Like, I would love to go like, why don't we walk like that? It's not a bad thing. And it looks stupid. It looks like, what the hell is going on? But what was happening there is that basically there was just an array of sensors, and then they gave it this stick figure, or like a four-legged thing, and it gave us these obstacles to overcome. And basically it was a self-referencing network that basically made mistakes and changed its behavior accordingly. So it was Google's DeepMind AI doing that. So this looks funny and goofy, but once you're actually in a military environment and a robot like that would hunt you down the woods and be much faster and better going around the mountains, then you wonder what's going on there. But it's a wonderful thing. It's like it's a very intelligent, clever thing. But of course, it's like everybody who doesn't know anything about computers looks at this like, this is stupid. So machines can be great tools or weapons again, and untrained and limited data leads to terrible and biased AI results. It's very easy to get either wrong deductions or false positives, like, ooh, I wanted to know, and the computer told me it's true, because you phrased the question that it only can come out with a positive attitude. And AI is as intelligent and good as the people who apply it. This self-walking robot might be great for somebody like bionic legs or something like that, or a robot that finds you in the woods and kills you although it's night. So machine learning helps us in a few ways. There is recommendation, there is prediction, there's classification, there's clustering, there's generation. And I'm going to go through them all in like day-to-day interfaces that we're using right now already that you should have in your systems. Everything should be that intelligent already, and you can use your own systems, or you can use Microsoft's, Google's, IBM's, Amazon's, Facebook's, whoever else is out there. All these systems are available to you. So recommendation means machines plowing through lots of data for you. One great example is all the I feel lucky moments. The search on the web and the first result will be probably the best that gets me the answer. That's my problem with like these Alexas and Google Homes and Cortanas. It doesn't scale. When I do a web search with that thing, I always get one result back. So that better be the most amazing results. I'm old school. I like 20 results on a screen, and probably the third or fourth is more applicable to me than the first one, because somebody has to make that decision which is the best one. Slack, finding people in your organization. You say like, okay, here's a job title, and they will find who actually talked about that topic, and it's probably the person, even though their job description doesn't say it. So often you find that in your company, people know more about the things that they're not working on than in the department that they're working on. Intelligent inboxes, like automated filtering, that's actually a description, that's a spam, that's something you have to act on immediately, that's something that's got a bit of time. Almost all mail systems have these now. Automated photo optimization. Every time I take a picture and Google tells me, oh, by the way, that looked horrible in terms of lighting, what do you think of this version? Okay, I take that version, and I look like I know what I'm doing. And automated tagging alternative text, image may contain. Facebook has done this for quite a while, and I'm going to have a demo later on as well to show that PowerPoint does it as well. Instagram just announced it, that they're now doing this as well, that people who can't see actually will get some description of what that photo is about because you don't write descriptions. Predicting things. You're doing something, and probably you want to do the next thing. That's what deep learning can do for us as well. Text autocompletion. Our keyboards on mobile are the greatest example for that. So wonderful that it actually not only fills in the words for us when we start typing them, but also the next word in context by now. That is, say, like, I'll be there in a minute, can be typed with like 3 strokes right now and not like typing every single character like we used to do on our Nokia phones. Task offerings. Oh, by the way, did you realize that you have to give this thing, shall I book a room for you? Instead of you having to remember to do all these tasks out there. Image tooling, adding photos to a collage. So there's 10 pictures, how about we put them together, or we do a 3D photo out of it, and you don't have to do these things. Creating albums, you've been in that place, this has been in that time zone. Here's an album just of those photos of the last 5 days. Offering similar music and videos. You like that movie on Netflix, do you also want to see the other one? Do you like that on Spotify, do you also want to hear the other one? And offering products that match the ones that you have right now. Classification, sorting things by what humans told you, what they are, and then scale it up. You tell a computer, this is a dog, this is also a dog, this is also a dog. Go through all the other data and find the other dogs for me. Google Surveys is a great example, where you type in a question and it gives you the right form elements according to that question. So when it says like, on a scale of 1 to 5, it also gives you the radio buttons. And you don't have to pick that from a drop-down anymore. Detecting faces and asking for more information in like, who is that person? And then you can tag it across all the data set that you have. Finding anomalies in health scans and doing the same for all the ones in the system. Like, this is a cancer growth, this is a cancer growth, this is a cancer growth. Here's the MRI scans from 50 million people. Please find the cancer growth for us. That's much faster than a human can do it. Clustering, find own patterns and collate them. Photo tagging and ordering. Document analysis, like what's in that document, where did I type this 5 weeks ago? Comment filtering and triaging. Comments where people are annoyed, like with emotion detection, should be answered first, because they actually will keep asking, so the other people don't have time to ask things. Video optimization dependent on content. Like video streaming services, when there is a dark image, actually compress it much more than a light image because nobody sees the difference anyways. And that way, video streaming became much faster and the video content became much smaller. And generation is the one where it becomes creative, allowing the machine to create things, fill in things. For example, art style matching is a big thing that Google released. So you can now paint like any picture like Van Gogh because we analyzed 50,000 of his pictures or whatever, how much he painted. Generated articles from fact collection. A lot of like these press releases for like what happened in the House of Commons or press releases what happened in sports are not written by humans anymore. They're written by computers because they're always the same boring subject. And I was a newscaster, I know. You always had to write them in the same way. Synthesized music, which sometimes can sound weird, and filling content with tagged information. And I'm going to show that later as a demo as well. And reacting to human input, basically automated reacting to your voice, finding things, and then answering in also a human voice, and not just in a robotic voice that's really boring. So we need to find our place on the scale. Do we want to spook people out, or do we want people just to love technology and be happy with what we have? Let's say face detection. This is the Microsoft face detection, the face API that finds like up to 22 faces in one photo and gives you a hash for each of them and gives you all the information that you might need. The rectangle, where it is in the image, the pose, the pitch, the roll, and the yaw. If it smiles, the gender and the age, and this is already where the ethics come in. Like we did this howoldareyu.net or something, howold.net, and people uploaded their photos, and I think we took like 10 years off in every photo, not to annoy people, because we didn't want immediately people to be like, oh, the machine has thought I'm ugly and old. Gender, of course, very dangerous thing to do automatically without actually having another human say like, okay, that person might be a woman, might be a man, I don't know. Type of glasses, if there's makeup, if there's emotion, anger, contempt, disgust, fear, happiness, neutral, sadness, surprise. Basically me opening Twitter in the morning, I go through all of them in 5 minutes. Occlusion, if there's a forehead occlusion or the eye or the mouth, like if people are covering things up. Facial hair and the attributes, if the hair is invisible, or if the person is bald, or if it's of color. It doesn't have red in it, so I have to fix that. And once we have that, we can actually detect you and your photo. And we can detect you in other photos as well. And you can use your face as a login system, like on the iPhone or on Windows Hello or in other systems. And this is cool. This is so much better than typing in a stupid code or swiping on your phone, because the swiping things were my favorite, because you tilted people's phones and you saw the patterns. So there was not much security in that thing. But finding somebody's face, and a good facial sensor also recognized that you have a pulse, so just having a photo or a dead head is not going to work. The same with a finger should have a pulse reader in it, so otherwise I can just take your fingerprint from something else, from a glass, and replicate it. We'd work with Uber in America, that Uber drivers, for users that opted into that, have to take a selfie when they actually pick you up. So instead of just having the photo in there, they also verify to the system that it's really that person on that photo that's picking you up. And that's an extra level of safety that people were very happy about. But you can take this information and be very creepy with it. There's this company, I don't know even if they're still around, but there was a big press release, and they said, like, we have a great tool now to recognize a person's ethnicity. Why the hell would I need this? I racked my brain for days. What interface would need to know if that person is Asian, African, or Arabic, except for racist filtering? But we can't do it, so let's do it, right? But this will be used for racist filtering. This will be used for terrible things. Another algorithm found out if you're gay by looking at your photo. It was actually kind of faked, because it actually went through your whole social graph and looked at other things as well, and then guessed your sexual orientation by that. Again, I don't need to know what you like and which person you love. So the gait recognition is a thing that also in China being used in the system. So even if the face is completely covered, the way you move is almost as unique as your face or your fingerprint. So that's been one of the things that are giving our information away. Would you trust these people? They're looking quite good, they're looking quite right. And these are the avatars that like say, hey, hello, I'm Susie from Help Desk, can you put me your password in there? The interesting thing is that none of these people exist. These people are actually made from celebrity photos. And you have an app that you can actually start playing with them, and you can change the gender, you can change the eye color, you can put like beards on them, you can make them fatter, you can make them smaller. So from lots and lots of photos, you can generate new people that don't exist. But they actually look trustworthy, and they look like, for a dating site, yeah, why not, kind of thing. So that, together with like matching of video of like other people saying things, you cannot trust anything right now in the image or video sector right now. But at the same time, this is good technology. Will it be used for good? I hope so. Automated face mapping. This is a tool called Social Mapper by Spider Labs. It's a red team security attack system. That actually you give it a photo or a folder of different photos of a person, and then it will look at LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Google+, well, not anymore soon, Instagram, WeContakte, whatever that is, Weibo in China, and Douban, and actually try to find the same person there. And go through all of them and make like a social graph of that person based on one photo or 5 photos that you gave the system. That way you can build phishing interfaces. You can trick users into disclosing their emails by showing them a login system that has their avatar for that system on it. So it looks like the real thing, and nobody looks at the URL anyways. So that's an interesting thing to use this facial recognition in a very insidious manner. But I want to go better than that. I want to go now on a positive note and say, like, what can we do for humans with AI? How can we not trick humans with AI, but how can we do it for good? Let's go to that happiness level and forget about spooking people out. The best way to do this is to stop selling AI as magic or something that people are too stupid for, and actually make it available to them, even in a simple manner. Just let them play with things. We need data, so let's make it a joyful experience for people to do it. This is a system that Google released quite some time ago. That's great for people like me who are artistically challenged. So I can now paint this, and it makes glasses out of it. So it paints that, and you can see already on the top, there's different glasses I can choose from. I click on that. Whoa, look what I've done. And this is great, because it allows me to do erroneous things, and the machine actually then fixes it brushes it up for me. The way they made this, a year before, they wrote a game called Quick Draw where they asked people to doodle things. And that way they got all the information in there to make this other system. So joy in, usefulness out. This is how these interfaces should work, not creepily finding information about you without telling you and then giving you the wrong recommendation. Making the whole process open makes it much more interesting. ReCAPTCHA, of course, asked people for like finding photos. So that used to be like words. That was for Google Books when they were badly scanned. Then it was street numbers, which was for Google Maps. Now it's actually cars, sidewalks, traffic lights. So that's for self-driving cars. Once this thing says which picture contains Sarah Connor, we should be worried. But in between, I think it's a great thing that people can use a system like that to secure their forms. We can then use this information to, for example, automatically colorize images. This is a system called the Oldify. Open source, doesn't use any cloud anything, so it can run on your machine, and actually colorizes old pictures by thinking, okay, other pictures had that same thing in there, that's probably the color you want. NVIDIA has a great system where they made this even better, so you can delete parts of an image, and then it actually takes image data from the surroundings and makes it mesh up. That's what I used to do in Photoshop, and people paid me for it. Don't need to do that anymore. Machines can do that. You can even do it in human faces, so you can get rid of the bushy eyebrows or the double chin. So that's pretty useful. But it's also quite interesting how fast these things are working nowadays. This is a system by MIT Labs or by IBM Watson, and it's released on MIT. So that one allows you to create images by getting like grass or a dome or sky that they got from other images and put them into this one. Of course, it doesn't look perfect, but it's a very interesting way to show people how much data we have already and what we can use it for. This is the best dog on the planet because it's ours. He's also on Instagram. And I realized the other day when I put this picture in that that PowerPoint says alternative text, a dog sitting on a sidewalk. This is not tags, dog, sidewalk, fluffy, amazing dog, follow on Instagram. It says a real text saying a dog sitting on a sidewalk. And that's part of the API that we provide and other people provide as well. So please don't throw keywords at people. Don't throw like make them solve puzzles. Give them a human understandable sentence and they will be much happier. This is great. There's on Twitter, when there's a picture that you don't know what it is, like I had no idea what that guy was again, you can tag it with Vision API, and then the Vision API will tell you with a confidence of 86%, that's Ed Sheeran standing in the room. Twitter should do this for me, and it easily could, but we just wrote that bot to show how it's done. So intelligent responsive systems offers a lot of data to compare we have a lot of data to compare our user data with. Bing indexing, Google indexing, all the things that we had in the past. And our users don't need to speak computer and can be human instead. They don't need to write an alternative text. We can do it for them. We can prevent them from making mistakes, like having these horrible outlines and say, like, that probably should be a real circle, right? Not the thing that you painted. And we can help them get around physical barriers. There's a system called Seeing AI, you're going to hear about that later in the day, that a blind colleague of mine wrote for himself to actually read menus to him, to recognize street lights and these kind of things. So Tim O'Brien, later on at 4 o'clock on this stage, is going to talk about these things in detail. And these are the tools that we have: natural language processing, computer vision, sentiment analysis, speech conversion analysis, and moderation. These are on all the cloud systems that you can use. And there's another talk here at 2 o'clock about AI in the modern workplace, how systems like Office already do these things automatically. So with great power that we have comes great responsibility. You got to bring Spider-Man in there somehow. And our responsibilities are, I think, that AI can be an amazing help for humans, but it needs transparency. We need to tell people what we do use their data for and show them how much better the system gets by having their data. And when people get information filtered by an algorithm, it should be an opt-in, not like Twitter telling me, oh, the algorithm is much better than those 1,000 people you followed. Thanks for doing all that work, but we don't need it anymore. Yes, I chose to follow those 1,000 people. I don't give a hoot about what Kanye West is saying. I don't want to have this information. People need to have a chance to dispute when an algorithm tagged them or disallowed them access. So I don't want to be in that photo where things happen in the background that are illegal. If you want to learn deep machine learning, there's a free course by Microsoft. It's a proper university course with all the points and everything that you need to do. And I love that the second part is ethics of AI after the math. And I think that's very, very important for people to think about. I wrote a course on Skillshare that's also free to try out, where I go through all the different vision APIs and stuff, how to use them. If you want to have like an hour in your life playing with those, that's fun too. But I think the main thing we have to answer is who controls our data, who benefits from these things. With all this, we need to make clear who has your data and where it goes. Not like magical, we do it for you, and we retain your data without giving you information about it. Wouldn't it be great if we could do more on our devices? Like, I've got a machine here, this laptop over there, is 32 gig of RAM, quad-core i9. I would love to use this thing in the browser to do my JavaScript, to do my analysis in JavaScript. But I can't right now because JavaScript is single-threaded and actually the only talks to one of the cores. It's not accelerated the way it should be. It's better because it's lower latency. I don't have to talk to a cloud system and get the information back. It's better security because it never leaves my device. And it's increased privacy because, again, it never leaves my device. These things are possible in iOS and in Android on high-end devices, but only in native code. So I wanted to democratize that to the thing that was the main thing for my whole career, and that's the web. So I'm part of a group that proposes a new discussion group and proposed a new standard for W3C to bring accelerated machine learning to the web in JavaScript. So we can use these things on our own and not have to actually use a cloud system. This is a discussion group. In case you want to take part in the discussion, please, you're all invited, because the more people do it and the more people find use cases for it, the better we can roll it out as a W3C standard. And using these things, let's not forget to have fun with all this. This AI stuff is friggin' amazing, but it's fun as well. This is my colleague Susie Hinton, who actually did this emotion detection and overlaying emoji on her face just with JavaScript, with a few lines of JavaScript and OpenCV. This is a very old website called Pointer, where you moved to your mouse pointer and then it showed you an image where somebody pointed to your mouse pointer. It was hours of fun back then. And now Google just released a Move Mirror, where it takes your whole body, using a deep learning system and shows you images from the web that actually have the same posture as you have right now. Pointless, but you see the speed of that running in a browser in JavaScript, and that's pretty amazing. This is one of my favorites. This is on CodePen by Cassie Evans. She did this little guy who actually dances, but he's shy. So when you look at him, he stops dancing. And it's like a few lines of JavaScript detecting a face and stopping the animation when the face is there and showing it when it's not there. And I love that little thing. When you talk to kids and you bring them programming, like Code Club are going to talk later here as well, Coder Dojo are going to talk here later as well. This is the kind of stuff that I do. Like, let's do a dancing guy that only dances when you don't see him. Charlie Gerard did even more than that. She did this great example of a teachable keyboard that actually uses learning on device in JavaScript, where you tilt your head to the right, to left, to down and up, and neutral. And then you can actually start writing by nodding your head and moving your head around. So somebody who is in a cast, somebody who has no hands, can now use this in the browser with JavaScript rather than writing or buying £6,000 software that has been written specifically for that. And this is the kind of stuff we can do with TensorFlow and JavaScript in the browser itself. And it's not a big task to do that, and it's fun to play with these kind of things. At the conference in Norway, I also met with this lady, Linda Liukas, and I think we should all collaborate and share more. And she just blew me away, because she writes these books for kids called HelloRuby.com, and where she now has a book about machine learning, where she actually teaches kids about data science and machine learning in a very simple manner. And yesterday at the speaker dinner, somebody asked me, how do we deal with bias? And I'm like, in her book, it's like there's 11 gray cats to tell the computer that this is a cat. And every single kid that she did that workshop with was saying, like, but my cat is white, or my cat is black. So we can't just teach the computer that that cats are gray. And this is a great way to find the next generation of people and already bring the fairness and the diversity of data into their thinking. And that's all I had, so thanks very much.